Hi, my name is Brett McGeckran. I'm presenting my scheduling tool for the Las Vegas Travel Modes Technology Company. The economic analysis for this tool is as follows. The company is currently handling scheduling through a mix of paper notes, Excel spreadsheets, and emails. As such, this has led them to lose productivity as they must spend time ensuring that they have properly recorded each appointment and have not lost any due to losing documents or even forgetting to follow through on basic steps like invoicing. Also, this means that the company does not have any clear way of getting new clients. Currently, most of their clients are from those that they have gained by word of mouth and reputation with local doctors, such as clients that they have had, and then those clients have recommended them to other doctors. Finally, this company is therefore currently profitable but does not seem to be able to grow without reorganizing their processes, as many of them are ad hoc. Also, they have no formal way of advertising, and they therefore lack a passive way to gain new clients. As such, a website to help administer both of these processes would greatly help boost their ability to become more profitable in the future. Economic analysis continued. As such, the main goal of the project is to increase the company's visibility and reduce the unnecessary and confusing paperwork that currently takes up much of their time. To accomplish this, two sites will be needed. First, an external website will be made that will provide potential clients the ability to easily request an appointment as well as learn about the company. This would include things such as their contact information, what services they offer, as well as what they can do and how they can request information. To accomplish a reduction in wasted time, an administrative site will also be created. This would enable the company to easily track their appointments, employees, and other information to enable easier and quicker management of the company. This would help to increase their profitability by reducing the wasted time their techs need to spend filling out whether they went to an appointment, how long they were there, and other details. Instead can focus on sending them to more appointments and less on actually trying to record and keep track of every single appointment. Analysis and design of the system. The system will consist of two websites and a database primarily. The first site will act as an external site that potential clients can ask for appointments and can learn about the company. This should be so that external clients can navigate it and try to determine if this company is right for them. This could include things about like what services they offer, what stains do they do, what machines will they need, all of that information, as well as contacts in case more specific emails need to be sent. The next website should help to perform administration functions. This could be to help users to schedule appointments or to add employees to a specific appointments as well as help keep track of what state they're on. This administrative site should have some sort of login to receive permissions as well, so that way owners can do certain things, users can do certain things, and to help prevent unauthorized use. Hopefully the system will be available 85% of the time. As I said, they still have their ad hoc functionality, so in the beginning stages, if they need to, they do not mind using emails if certain issues are discovered, but they would like 85% of it to be available. Also, testing and easy deployment are of key concern. They want it to be easily testable so they can document that it was made well and everything should work as expected. And deployment is more of a concern for developers just to make sure that it is easy and fast to deploy and reset up. Management of the development process. All work should be done in separate branches. The main branch should be preserved for finished features and increments. These branches could be stored on GitHub or absorbed DevOps. Either way, the idea is to prevent the master-main branch from becoming broken due to unpolished features. Instead, branches should be used to help test these and fix these. New code should receive documentations and comments. Generally, the comments should be done using the TS-doc documentation format unless one line is sufficient. This is to help future programmers and even the people who wrote that line of code understand what it is doing. This is so that if a bug occurs, we can easily identify the source of it and try to determine what we need to do to remedy it, whether we need to account for that specific edge case, or if the code is working as it was intended and now there is an edge case that needs to be accounted for as well. Finally, work items should be recorded on the board so that progress can be tracked and recorded in case of setbacks or bugs. Basically, we need to make sure the work items are being recorded, what commit IDs, what type of commits, so that way we can always go back and try to determine where the initial issue was created? Was it created in a refactor or in the initial documentation? As such, these will be useful in trying to track down how bugs can be changed, fixed, or if it's even a bug at all from the original documentation viewpoint, or if it's a new way of wanting to use this feature. The planning and control phase. Developers should follow the project proposal and technical specification documentation creating work tasks. If there are any vague items, the stakeholders should be contacted to clarify these specific sections. This is so that no assumptions are made in the early process. If an item is determined to be vague, the stakeholder should be contacted as they can help explain why that vagueness is occurring. For instance, one document may specify that it is automatic, whereas another one seems to hint that an admin or a supervisor needs to perform this role. As such, contacting a stakeholder may be useful because they may say it should be able to happen automatically, but we want the stakeholder able to do it in case a document gets stuck. Commit should follow conventional commits to help properly identify what is done and provide an easy access to the changelog. So the conventional commits format helps to format the commits in such a way that it's fairly easy for different developers to see what commit was done, such as whether it's a documentation change, or original commit, a bug fix, a refactor, or a new feature. As such, following these simple lines of logic are very helpful in determining what was actually changed and how. Similarly, the tag should be used to help tag different versions as increments are created. Any conflicts in pull requests should be resolved between the two developers in question to prevent code issues and breakages. This is generally to prevent one person from pulling code and then just completing it by themselves. If there's a merge request, both developers should be involved in trying to determine what needs to stay and what needs to go to help prevent code issues when a merge request is implemented. SDLC techniques. Use of appropriate commit messaging to enable tracking of code changes. Similarly, this is so we can track what was actually done in the commit. The commits should be relatively brief, but also able to identify what was exactly changed. So the best way to implement this, in my point of view, is to not commit something and commit like 20 files. You should instead, unless there's small changes in each of those files. Instead, you should be committing 1 or 2 files at a time because you could probably summarize what changes are in those files. All development should occur on branches other than main unless the change is incredibly simple or documentation. As previously stated, this is to ensure that main is never broken or in a state that we are trying to fix it. This is more just to help prevent developmental changes. The only reason you should be working on main directly is if it's a very small change, such as, say, the website title needs to be changed and you're just changing that one string, or a documentation can be done on main since that's not going to impact code functionality at all, and that could be a simple revert. Now, if you are writing a lot of documentation, such as adding in the entire first commit, you probably want to do that on a branch in case we find errors in it and want to revert that completely. Next, clear communication is needed between all the stakeholders involved. This ranges from the deployment team, the testing team, the development team, stakeholders who are funding the project, and stakeholders who are providing the actual requirements. This is because certain requirements may be viewed as more or less important depending on the stakeholder, and also some requirements may not be known to all stakeholders. As such, there should be clear and easy communication between all of them. Next, you need to ensure that there's enough time in each sprint for all of the required items and any fixes that may be identified. This is just to avoid burnout and to prevent developers from rushing features. As such, I would recommend that you find whatever is capable in each developer's velocity and maybe undershoot that by maybe 10%. So that way, in case any issues such as a library makes a breaking change that now makes it not usable in the program, or a new feature is required desperately, there's still that wiggle room in the developer's velocity that allows them to implement that urgent change. For testing models, processes, and practices, due to the project utilizing the Angular framework, unit testing will be performed using the Jasmine framework, Karma, and the ng test command. There should be a minimum of 80% code coverage. This is so we can guarantee that at least the most basic and required functions are usable and tested. Ideally, the whole application will have individual unit tests that test individual functions to ensure that each function component and other items work in a separate context and space. However, if time permits in the sprint, then integration and end-to-end tests should also be developed. These are to test the component, the project as a whole. As such, it's not entirely needed if coverage through unit test is achieved. However, it is a nice sense of self-security to ensure that the entire project is working from end to end if these two tests can be created as well. Solutions for the project. The two websites will utilize deploy scripts to both build and deploy the project. This is to remove human error from manual deploy. The two websites will be hosted by the Internet Information Services, aka ISS. This will also should have in the deploy script some form of automating the starting and stopping of the ISS to enable easier deployment. The SQL Server Express database will be hosted on the same cloud server as the ISS containing the two websites. To make it easier and to prevent potential issues, I would require that these two websites use different certificates. Finally, the website should be created with usability in mind so that employees and clients can work them with minimal training. This would include the use of things such as buttons that are clearly labeled or with icons that make sense, as well as using tooltips to enable easy use. Project platforms. The website should be accessible on web browsers and on desktops and laptops. The website should be accessible on web browsers, on phone, tablets, or other mobile devices. For testing, emulators will most likely be needed for testing on mobile devices. The mobile devices, though, will be done in such a way that it will be to take what is probably the most likely. So iPhones, Androids, and other devices that are relatively new, so maybe in the last 3-4 versions of the phones, but nothing that is anything outside the scope of normal. Like, for instance, the phone that can open and flip open to a tablet would be considered an edge case too extreme to test for. Finally, the main browsers of concern would include modern browsers such as Chrome, Edge, Safari, and any others, but those three listed are the main ones of concern. Functional specifications. For the external site, it would include a navigation bar or some other form of navigation. It would next include pages for contact information, information about the company, and then a form page for asking for appointments. Next, the administrative site would include a navigation bar or, again, some other form of navigation. It should have some form of dashboard to show appointment information, and this appointment information would be like appointments canceled, appointments pending, appointments needing review, similar styles to that. Next, there should be pages to show information about appointments and appointment history. Finally, there should be a login system that either will utilize the database or some multi-factor authentication utilizing Google accounts that the company already has purchased. Technical specifications for the site. First, it'll use ISS along with certificates to host the clients and the APIs. Next, it's going to utilize SQL Server Express to store data and receive it and modify it. Finally, it's going to use email.js to send the emails, and this will be for a few tasks such as alerting the owner if appointments have not been modified, alerting users if their appointments have been denied or approved, and other email-related tasks. Finally, it's going to utilize either an authentication service or simply creating a custom login component in the database to store login information. Thank you. This has been my presentation for the technical and functional and other analysis for this upcoming project. My name has been Brett McEachran, and please contact me if you have any further questions.